These towers are about to go, and we're coming in with some new ones. Tagline. Woo. What we gotta do is we have to bust loose those connections, take out all the piping. You can see right there, that's our temporary piping. We've had some temporary cooling towers going here for a couple of months. So the towers are finally coming in this weekend. It is Tuesday. We're doing the change out on Saturday. So we have 2 towers, 3 cells each, a total of 6 at this building. There's another building next to us here. It has the same exact setup as 2 towers, but one tower died during the freeze, the other one didn't. Well, insurance only paid for one of the 2 towers to be changed. And they're gonna lift up over the trees in the garage to get down to these towers. And these towers are so tall, we're going to have to take them apart in a couple of sections so that we can get them on the trailer and get them to the scrapyard and get them hauled off. So there's a seam right there. That seam is what's going to come apart. So as part of what the prep crew is going to do is they're going to go around and take all the bolts out of that seam. Now, one of the challenges we're going to have to face is right here between the towers, there's a seam that's bolted in right there. So we got 2 options. We have a big enough crane. We can pick the whole tower up and take it over there and drop it on the road and finish the disassembly process. Or we could try to slide the tower down just enough just to get somebody in between there with a ladder and finish busting that apart and then pull that top section from there. And the whole reason these towers are getting changed out in the first place is strictly because the bundles inside of these, the heat exchangers, froze and busted during the February freeze. So this is our temporary tower. It's running to maintain the building since these 2 towers are down at this one. The other building still has that 1 tower online, so there's no temporary there. So anyway, we're going through this plated heat exchanger, and the loop water and the actual tower water are not mixing. Thankfully so, sitting underneath these trees. We're about once a month we're having to come in and completely deep clean. That motor sounds like crap. Having to completely come in and deep clean these towers because they just struggle so much. So the goal is, once we get our towers online, the rental company can come pick all this up and get this out of here. And the morning is here, so it's about 6 a.m. in the morning, and we've had the team working throughout the weeks, got all the piping, got everything busted loose. They've been just ripping this thing apart. And we got the crane on the way. It's gonna be here any minute. It's a nice rainy morning at that, but we're gonna get both of these towers out. So the goal today, we'll have both of these towers in and out. We're not getting them hooked up or anything, we're just getting them set. And then we've got the other building, and we'll get that one done by end of the day. It's gonna be a long day. Hopefully it's not gonna be too wet of a day, but it's definitely a wet morning. Now that's a crane getting his cabin set up. Look how big these pads are. I mean, that's a pad. This is the biggest crane I've ever worked with, personally. I've worked with some similar to this size, but not quite this big. So these 2 here are crane trucks as well. See, this one crane has 3 trucks that trail behind it for all of its rig work and pads and everything. That's 5 crane trucks, 6 crane trucks. To make a quick correction, these are the pads. Those others were the counterweights. Each one of those pads is 10 tons. That base that they're sitting on is 20 tons. They've got it all stamped on there. So with what they've got on site here, we figured it up. It's going to be roughly 80 tons of counterweight for this crane. And it's all sitting on the deck. Wow, I didn't expect that. So they've got it loaded up, and there's a set of jacks. And they lift that up with a set of jacks and bolt it. So with our crane weight, we're right at 23,000 pounds at that furthest tower. The problem is, because of that inner seam, since we can't split them on site, this tower that they're currently standing on, the closest one, has 3 brand new motors that the customer wanted to save that we just put in right before these towers failed. We're pulling those motors out. That's going to buy us a little bit of weight. Basically, you're talking right at 1,000 pounds taken off. and he'll be because he won't have to boom as far, he'll have a little more capacity over that 23,000. That'll be just enough to get that first tower out whole. Making solid progress. We'll end up pulling this catwalk up there on top of the hill. So we'll catch those I-beams, eye-bolts, eyelets. There we go, that's the word I'm looking for. We'll catch the eyelets there and we'll split it with that spreader. We're okay right now. We're coming off the ground. We're clear, we look good. We got a tagline. Woo! Everybody just stand clear. Just stand clear. Well, that took a little bit of maneuvering, but she's in the air. All that pipe's getting redone anyway, so I'm not overly worried about that. We're in the process. We got one seam. We'll get that seam done. We'll heat one corner up with a little MAP gas torch, and we'll kind of pick that corner, and that whole top section will just peel off. Well, all that butyl tape has got in between. That stuff is super sticky, like freaking super glue. So we have a little bit bigger torch, we'll call it brush torch, but we apparently forgot it. So we got a little map gun going, and we'll get a couple of feet either way on that corner. That'll give it a separation point, and as soon as it does, it'll spread or split. So now that we've got it split, we'll spread the cables and pick the whole thing. We already got the base set on the other truck. It just pulled out. We got the top going on this one. Catwalk's off. We'll put the other top here on this back half of this trailer, and that other truck will come back and we'll set the other base on it. The top part to the new one. The other top part is one of the bottoms. But because of the way this was supposed to come, or this platform would just marry right up and it'd be good. Well, it didn't. So we've got to, we're gonna just scrap the platform altogether, and we're gonna put in internal ladders instead. We'll have to come back and we can do that later. First tower is in place, looking good. We're getting the butyl tape on now. We got several rolls. It turns out we're not going to be able to fly the whole tower on this new one like we were hoping to. There is a tool, and one of our local tower companies we work with have built a tool to get in there between those tight towers and get that seam put together. So we're going to try to utilize that as best we can. We'll get them out here at a later date and then get all that together. So at the minimum today, we'll be able to set the top on, and then we'll be cutting over to the other building. This is our other tower. So we're having to brace some of the piping up. Crane is up there. It's gonna be challenging. We're not sure that he's gonna be able to do it from the whole tower, which is gonna be a bad thing for us. So that's part of what we gotta figure out right now, is can he actually lift this whole tower, or are we gonna have to make major, adjustments, we'll put it that way, in order to get this thing out of here. Well, we got a huge blessing on this one. They actually were able to pick that whole tower in one piece, and I cannot tell you how big of a relief that is. This tower had a common basin, so they're welding up a plate on that, and we're gonna permanently isolate them from each other. That's how the others were. These are closed loop towers, so they don't need to run a common basin or anything, or equalizers or none of that stuff. It's coming together. It wasn't without some issues, It was extremely tight. We had to move that pipe stand where we originally put it. It was right where the new circulating pump's gonna be, so, or a spray pump. So anyway. She's in there. So we just we ended up working till about 9:30, and we had just got that top set in place right as that sun was finishing going down. We got a few bolts in it, got it all lined up, and we called it a night. We picked up, got everybody out of here. It was a super strong effort. We were all exhausted. I mean, shoot, we started from, it was 6 a.m. all the way to 9:30 p.m. But all 3 towers got done. Super proud of the team. I mean, they did a great job. We've got a team on site throughout the week, you know, getting the other building done. And, you know, then they'll come over here and get this building knocked out. So we still have the old tower online. There's a lot of put together work, you know, as you can see, the piping, there's drain work got to be done, there's makeup water's got to be hooked up, there's testing, balancing, we got all the electrical to do. We've got a electronic liquid level control. We've got to get new drives put in for the fans. I mean, there's a lot of cleanup and back end work, and we'll have teams on site kind of doing that. We're keeping some of the old equipment like that shaft and bearings we just put in a few months ago. We're going to save that, put that back for the customer. This other stuff we took out to try to get weight out of the tower. That way that crane could actually pick it up as one piece. I do want to say, just MCT, take care of your family, make that time for them. You know, they really need you. It's a crazy time of the year. We got all kinds of stuff going on. We were here on a Saturday, you know, from dark to dark, you know, getting this done, right? But you got to go home and you got to make that time. Your kids need you, your spouse needs you. So just, we can't lose sight of that. We can't lose grasp of that. Your family is extremely important to you as a person, and make the time. You're never going to have the time, so you have to make it. That's just all there is to it. It's not going to be there, but it has to be made. It has to be put in place, and you're the one that has to do it. Appreciate it, guys. Be safe.